Welcome to a special edition of Swarm Talk. Tom Kakert from Hawkeye Report, and I would like to thank, of course, our hosts here, the Courtyard by Marriott, right across from Kinnick Stadium. And the special edition is because we have a special guest, Justice Sullivan, linebacker for the University of Iowa football team. Justice, welcome. Thanks for doing this. And you have one of the more unique stories that I've encountered in my time covering the University of Iowa. You were born in Ghana. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me about growing up in your first years in Ghana?
Growing up as a kid was a little bit different than growing up here. I would say it was really hard to kind of compare the two lives because a lot of times it was just me, my mom, and my brother. And a lot of days my mom would be working, and it would be like just selling like fruit and stuff like that on the side of the road. So most days, like growing up, it was just me taking care of myself. There wasn't really much of like an education or like going to school or anything like that. And most times, I mean, there was a school that we could attend, but schools would be, 5 to 10 miles away. And growing up as a child, it's hard to do that. So most days I wouldn't go to school. I'd kind of just stay at home and run around like the little village. And most days, like chores would be about a 1 to 2 mile hike to fetch water to bring it back home so we'd have something to drink or something to cook with. Even the showers was whatever water you could store up from the hikes. And then like when it rained, we had a bucket that would collect water that we'd use to do everything. So, I mean, growing up as a child, it was simple, but a little complex at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I'd read that your mom kind of wanted something better for you. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that and making that kind of decision for her son?
Yeah, so a lot of times, like when I don't look like a lot of other people, I have orange hair and freckles as like a black person, and you don't see that a lot. So growing up in Africa, that was like an albino mutation. So a lot of the people there either thought like there was something wrong with me or like I was cursed or anything like that. So it was like really hard to get along with like all the other kids because I mean when your parents are like telling you like this and that. So like I think that's one thing that my mom just kind of noticed and wanted to get me out of the town to where I could go to somewhere where it's more, I would be more accepted or somewhere I'd fit in more. And also from like a living standpoint, there's not much in Ghana for anybody. Like as a kid or an adult, there's not much to look forward to growing up. It's almost like there's like no hope, like you're just kind of living just to live. So her like sending me over here was just a way of kind of giving me like a new opportunity or a new chance to have like a life or somewhere of a decent life.
Were you aware of the discrimination?
Yeah, I was. So I think a lot, like the one thing that really like kind of showed me was there was a lady who didn't really like me, and I think one day like I was playing outside like of her window, and I think I've told this like the articles too, like she tried to almost like drop a rock on me as like I was sitting outside, and thankfully she missed, else I wouldn't be here talking to you today. But there was a lot of things like that. And then there was one of like the people who lived by my house. I remember going over to try to like play with his son, as I mean like any little kid would, like going over to your neighbors. And I think at that time they had like one of those things you slide open and you could look forward. He slid it open and he kind of he spit on me and he told me to get away from their house. Wow. So that and just like people calling, like there's like a name for it, and it's like ofrijato, which is like the African term for it. It's like I guess a discriminatory term towards like the albino condition. So a lot of people would say that to me, and then the overall way I was treated. I was able to see it, but as a kid I didn't really know much better, so I thought that was just the only way.
So how old are you when you start the process to come to the United States?
So it took about 2 years, so I was 6, so by the time I got over here I was eight, and it was weird because all I remember is there was just one night like my mom just asked me like, are you okay with like going? And I don't really know I mean, I don't really know anything else. So I was just like, yeah. And then I think one day, I think I had to leave in the middle of the night just because of all the other things that were kind of going on. And I think one day I got on a bus and I ended up going. I didn't know where I was going, but I ended up somewhere in like a fostering home for a little bit as they did the adoption process. So that ended up taking a while for everything to get completed.
And you end up in the middle of Iowa with a couple named Jake and Janelle Sullivan. Can you tell me what Jake and Janelle mean to you?
I think it's like they just kind of, they're like everything that I am today, because I think without those two, like I'm still in Africa, probably not doing anything, don't have an education, not here, not doing anything like that. So I would say like they kind of saved me from the life that it could have been. And it was like, going from having like no parents, like almost taking care of yourself, and then having two parents at home who have provided you with a food, shelter, and a place to just basically live. So I was just very thankful for, anything I could get. It was a little hard though, because coming over here, I didn't speak any English. So when you don't really understand what people are saying to you, it makes it a little bit difficult to kind of communicate.
I bet that first year was pretty difficult then, trying to just learn how to communicate. How did you bridge that gap?
I would say that's one of my biggest accomplishments. It took me about six months to learn English, and I used a lot of cartoons, anime. Like that's kind of how I learned. I would wake up early every morning before school. I would watch cartoons. I'd watch whatever was on TV. And it was hard because obviously I couldn't read and I couldn't write. I couldn't do anything. Like I didn't even know how to spell my own name. So it was difficult. But as time went on, I had to do like a lot of summer school to catch up with other kids who've been in preschool, kindergarten, and had that education growing up. So it made it pretty tough. But I think eventually I was kind of able to gain ground and get back up with everyone else.
Justice is such a unique name. How did that come about?
So the one thing like my mom told me was, as they were trying to do the adoption process, there was a lot of like government regulations and a lot of like people like trying to stop the adoption. And then especially in Ghana, it's almost like the people themselves don't want their own people to be successful. And there are a lot of things that prevent people from helping people. And I understand like there are some cases where like you want to have a lot of laws and regulations and stuff like that to stop like the human trafficking and whatever else goes on. But there was just a lot of like obstacles and like a lot of setbacks of people just not wanting to cooperate or help out with the adoption, which is where like she ended up getting the name Justice from.
Okay. So you like it?
Yeah, I've been called that for the last like 10 years. So my original name was Samuel. So I like it, but it's just my middle name now. So now my name is just Justice Samuel Sullivan. So
you come from Ghana to the middle of Iowa. That would be a pretty significant culture shock. What was that like for an 8-year-old?
I would say like I didn't realize it as much because I was frantically just trying to it's almost like you're just trying to survive, especially because you're in a new place. You don't know what anyone's saying. You don't know what anyone's doing. You don't know what anything is, what anything means. I would say I still remember the day like we landed in the airport, and it was like just seeing like a road that was like paved and done was like seeing like a spaceship to me the first time, because it was like in Africa, like you don't see that a lot in Africa. A lot of times when people land, you'll see like the main city, but you drive 10 minutes, it's dirt roads, houses are broken down, like not really any finished complex. So seeing like a finished road and like road signs and cars and stuff like that was a new experience for me just in general. And then getting to the house, seeing all these, I didn't even know what a refrigerator was, microwave, a TV. Like I didn't know how to operate any of those things. I didn't even know how to ride a bike. I never owned a bike. Owning a bike here, a lot of people see it as just like an everyday thing, but owning a bike in Africa is like, having a car, like you have a place to get around. So it was a lot to get adjusted to. But like I would say, like I was just so overwhelmed that like it didn't really like, it was almost, I was just fighting just to survive and just to live another day, I guess.
What did you think the first time you saw snow?
That was that was a unique. I think I went outside and I made a snow angel, which it was. I mean, I feel like snow for the first time is cool, but then after a while, it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I'd prefer it to be like 90, like it was over there. But it was definitely a cool experience to see. I didn't really know. I think like any other kid, I just went outside, played. I think we made a giant snowman, which was pretty cool. That was another new experience on top of all the other ones that I was having back then. So
I'm guessing as the son of Jake Sullivan, you're going to be around basketball early on, and I don't think that went well for you.
Hey, I would say it was rough at the start. It was rough. I remember, like, I mean, now asking one of my coaches, because like as a kid I never played. He would never put me in a game, and I asked him like why, and he'd just be like, you couldn't catch, I was uncoordinated, you just give the ball to the other team, couldn't make a layup, couldn't do anything. But I did get better as time went on. But you would think my dad, being as good as a shooter as he was, he'd give me some tips or something. Somehow I just could never figure out how to shoot. I learned how to make layups and catch the ball and things like that, but I never figured out how to shoot or anything like that. So it was definitely a cool experience, kind of getting to play and getting to see like a new sport, because I mean before that all I'd known was soccer. And with us being like a basketball family, it was hard because they're kind of around the same time, so we're at basketball most of the time, so there wasn't any opportunity to do any other sport. I tried karate for a little bit, but that lasted like a couple months before I dropped out. But basketball was definitely one of the, I think, I still to today, I think I want to go out there and just shoot. Like, it's just one of those experiences that you don't really forget about.
When does football come into your life?
So I think I started playing in like fourth or fifth grade, and I realized it was a lot like easier than basketball, because I mean, especially like not like here, don't get like it's 100 times harder, but like back then, like you just run and find the ball. Yeah. You're not worried about dribbling, passing, shooting, or anything like that. Like you can run and go tackle someone. I think that's probably a pretty simple thing at that age. So I think that's where it kind of just, I was like, oh, this is a lot easier than trying to do all the other extra stuff on the basketball court. So then that's kind of how I really fell in love with playing football. So I would say that's kind of where it all started. I
think your coach at Ballard kind of helped you get into the weight room and start. Can you talk about that, the difference that he seemed like he kind of took you under his wing? Yeah, no, Coach Christensen invited me to start kind of working out with the high school team, I think in 6th or 7th grade, and start lifting. And some mornings I'd ride my bike, and he helped out a lot. Like, he would be at my house early in the morning at like 6 to pick me up, which was nice, because riding the bike in the freezing cold was not very fun. But he played a pivotal role, because he just kind of showed me the way, put me into the weight room, kind of came alongside of me and just helped me out with everything going on, especially because, I mean, everything was new. Like, I mean, I didn't know what weights were or lifting or anything like that. So he played a big role in kind of getting me in there, getting me in with the school and structuring everything very well. So you kind of, I think, probably get comfortable in Ballard, and then Sullivan's decide to move up to, are you guys in Eden Prairie? Is that correct? So you're moved to Minnesota. Yeah. A little colder weather. It is a lot colder weather. I don't think people realize it. It's a lot colder than it is here. I mean, when we first moved up there, like I like to, I don't know, whenever I go to sleep, have a water by my bed. You'll set a cup of water out with ice, and in the morning it will still be full ice. Like, there's not going to be any melting or anything like that. So I would say there's definitely a big degree difference that people don't notice. They think, oh, Iowa and Minnesota are kind of in the same area, so the temperatures are the same. It's not that way at all. So what is high school like for you, and starting to play football at a higher level and starting to get interest from colleges? That had to have been like a wow moment for you.
Yeah, I think it was going up there. So Eden Prairie was like a powerhouse up there. I think, I don't know, out of the last, like, I don't know, well, they had won like 11 state championships already. And so I finished my freshman year at Ballard, and we had moved up there, and I just started watching like all the tape and stuff. And I was just like, geez, like these guys are really good. Because I mean, you're going from a school of like 200 or 300 people to a school of 3,000 to 4,000 people. And it was like a big jump. So I was just like, I'm just going to do what I need to do, and then whatever results that I come out with, I'm okay with. So I think that was when I had stopped playing basketball, and I think I started trying to put weight on because I realized I was going to need to be a little bit bigger than I was when I was at Ballard. I was going to need to be bigger than what I was if I wanted to be able to play there.
Sure.
So I gained, I think, about 20 pounds before we moved out there. I was around 215, 220, which at Ballard, I think I was like 180, 190. So it was definitely a big jump in like my mentality too, because I was going to need to be more physical, get stronger, get faster, and just kind of do all those things. And then with the college recruiting, that kind of started around like freshman year, where I took a couple visits. And I mean, that was the thing too. I always wanted to go play somewhere. And I think the one big part is just like a free education. I think to me is like incredible.
Pretty incredible, yeah.
It's incredible. So like, I don't know. I think the first time like I talked to a coach, like it was like an adrenaline rush of just kind of that, like almost like you're getting there, like all the work that you've put in, all like everything that you've been through is going to be worth something in the end.
When does the University of Iowa, Kirk Ferentz, all those, when does that start to happen for you?
Yeah, so I think I took a couple visits I think I went to Nebraska, Iowa State, and then like I came here, and like the coaches were like it's just straightforward. And I think that's the one thing I really liked about here, is because the coaches just kind of talked, and it was about like straight to business. There was no like extra stuff like glamour or all the other extras, just all about business. And I talked to Coach Polisak, was actually my recruiter up in Minnesota, and he'd been up there a little bit. He was like, "Oh, we got to get you down." And I came down, talked to them for a little bit. I visited the locker room, and it was Coach Polisak. I think I walked in, and he kind of announced to me like, "Oh, like we've decided that we're going to offer you like a scholarship." And that was my first scholarship, and it was amazing. I think I sat in the car, and it felt like a big weight had just been like lifted off my shoulder. And then I think that following week, I think then Minnesota offered, and then I think Nebraska offered. But I mean, just them willing to take a chance on me, like to be the first ones to reach out and to put a scholarship offer out there was huge for me. Who
was with you when you got that? Was Jake with you?
Yep, I was with my dad.
Okay, you were with him. Did you call your mom back in Ghana and tell her?
So it's hard because the communication's a little weird, because at that time they didn't have a phone.
Sure.
So I've been back a little bit to now where I'm able to I think last time I went there I bought them a couple of iPhones, and now I'm able to communicate with them. So at that time I didn't really have much of a communication with them other than when I'd hear through someone else reporting to my dad.
But did they understand that when they heard about it, they were like, "Holy cow, this is amazing."
No, that's the thing too, is like when I go back, like my mom is just like, she sees like how my body has filled out, and how how much I've grown, and she's just like, it's an incredible like experience. I mean, I would think for her to kind of see where I was as a kid and to where I am now, and having given the chance that opportunity.
So your dad played at Iowa State. He's a legend there.
Yeah.
And they didn't offer. And what's it like when you tell him that you're going to go to Iowa? Because he's cyclone to the bone kind of guy.
Yeah. He was very supportive about it. Like he never Because I think I committed after like my sophomore year, because it was just like, I mean,
You knew where you wanted to go.
Yeah, I knew where I wanted to go, and I didn't want to wait around for someone else to come, especially when they'd taken a chance on me. But he was just like, at the end of the day, you just got to make your decision. You got to pick what's right for you. And I mean, he said, I'm not you, and football is completely different from basketball. So you got to pick just where you feel comfortable and where you feel at home. So he did leave that decision up to me and didn't try to influence me in any way, which is, I think, is huge. And to know that I had that support to make the decision to go wherever I wanted to go.
Is it fun seeing him in Iowa gear?
It is. I actually sent him a ton of Iowa gear for his birthday. It was just his birthday, so I decided to send him some black and gold, some long sleeves, and to get him wearing the right colors.
Get him to wear the right colors. You talked a little bit about going back home to Ghana, and what is that like for you to go back there, and based on the experiences that you've had here, and then going back home and trying to better the people that you know back there.
Yeah, so it was, I went back like a lot of times as a child, which I was happy to go, like, obviously see my mom and my brother, but like as a kid, like it wasn't, like I didn't really think about it. But last year I went back and I was visiting like my mom and stuff like that, and like there was all these people come around as soon as like I come, and it's like that's the hard part for me, because it's like when I was there as like a kid, like I mean none of them were there, like nobody wanted to come see me, nobody wanted to talk to me, nobody like wanted to take care of me. So when I go there and I see like people asking like, oh, did you bring me something, did you bring us something, like I took care of you when you were a child, I'm like, no you didn't. Like I know how it was, and I knew how you all treated me. So it was hard for me not to like almost turn my back and never go back there. But I mean, the one thing I realized is that may have happened to me, but like I'm not going to be the only kid that has happened to. So if I'm not willing to go back and help someone else, then there's going to be no one else to help them, because without this opportunity, I would be in that same situation that they're in. So I have to be willing to kind of look past that and realize that there's still going to be people like me who are being treated wrongly, or people like me who don't have like much food or much of anything. And I have to be willing to make that sacrifice of go back and wanting to help, because without that, no one else is going to come to help. And I know that from firsthand experience.
Do you want to go back there after you graduate from college and kind of just help people who are in need in Ghana?
So that's been a huge thing for me. So I actually have 2 trips planned there in these upcoming years, I think after the season, because we get a little bit of a break before school starts. So I think I have a trip where I'm taking a couple of my teammates, Griffin Little's going, and then Sweeney, who left here a few months ago, they're coming with to kind of see it and kind of experience what all is going on there. And I think that's huge for me, because that's I want to be able to like kind of show people like what's really going on. Like life is not just all of this, like we turn on the tap water and it's like, oh, like we don't even think a second about it. There's another world out there where there is no water, there's no electricity, it's 110 degrees outside, where a kid doesn't have anywhere else to go. And I think experiencing that will definitely kind of give you a sense of appreciation, and will also wake up something in you to want to do something to change that, or something in you to want to help someone out.
Even here in the United States, giving back is very important to you. Can you talk about what it means to you to give back, to help others? Because I think that's part of your mission as a person. Yeah,
and I think it's just there's need everywhere you go, and there are kids who don't have like a mother and father, or who don't have like all the resources that I have. So I think it's really important for me to do anything I can to help someone else. If anyone is in need, like I would do anything, I will give up whatever, just so that they can have like the sense of like, just like that happiness that you feel when you appreciate something. Because when you feel like you have nothing, I just don't think is just a good way to live. And just doing anything I can to help someone else is just, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know why more people wouldn't want to do. And like, I think the one thing I've always said to me is, I love playing football, but if I get old and I feel like all I ever did was play football, then I've wasted like every single opportunity that I could have. If I don't impact anybody else's life, then all this opportunity, all the chances that I've gotten has really been for nothing.
Where'd that come from? Is that lessons from Jake and Janelle? Is that something that's just in you?
I think that's just, my dad is a big server too.
Yeah.
But I think that one is more of just like, I don't want to be like someone who's always trying to benefit themselves. Like, I don't want to be just me, like, give me, like, let me take, let me grab here. And I think the greatest joy you can get in life is helping someone else. I don't think there's anything else that could beat that. If you help someone and you get to see like that smile on their face and you realize you've changed a life, I don't think there's anything else that's better than that.